Morning. I've just spent a few hours putting together a series of tabs, and it's kind of apparent when listening to people talking about the alleged climate crisis that much of it is coming from an emotional place, and instinctively we know when something's wrong with what's happening in our communities and what's happening in the world generally. Certainly if you watch the television and see the the evening news, one would think that everything was going to hell and back. But what I wanted to do was actually take a more sort of pedagogic look, if you like, at the the science and the shorthand. Now, all the emotional stuff, there's definitely a shorthand in narratives, and those are descriptive narratives and storytelling, which the climate educators tell us is very important, because we don't understand this difficult stuff that the experts do. So this video is about the difficult stuff that the experts use. Now, the analogue I like for this is when the King James Bible was first published in English, at around the same time as Gutenberg invented the printing press, etc. The church at the time, because henceforth Bibles were actually in Latin, and most people couldn't read and write anyway, and so what was actually handed down regarding the Gospels, the Bible, etc., was an interpretation from a priest who would deliver mass and what have you in Latin, and mumbo jumbo comes from that, because it corresponds to a Latin phrase which sounds roughly phonetically like mumbo jumbo. I won't go into that, you can look that up. So anyway, let's just work through the slides. This is kind of part 4 now. I posted a slide presentation from Dr. Jeffrey Glassman, which talks about the scientific method and modelling. Next, then I did a video, the climate distinction, going through some aspects of this idea that there's a climate crisis, and then I did another one yesterday. So, and this is the next in that series. Now, this is where I actually produce my writing, and the extinction distinction. If I just click on this here, the previous 2 talks, I did a transcript which I've dumped into Readsy here, which I'm going to be producing a small book for, which I'm likely to produce that and put it online as a paid for download. And obviously the videos are free and all the rest of it, but I'm in the middle of building a Web3 publishing portal. So anyway, those 2 talks are in part 1 and part 2 in here already, and I'm just right, okay, so what I've done is I've been turning those videos into a fictionalized account of them, and I'm in the middle of this at the moment, and this novel prize for falsification of scientific paradigms, and I've sort of introduced the video stream. A greying middle-aged man in a curious t-shirt looks forlornly into the 30-inch Mac screen in his den in rural Sweden. The t-shirt reads, "Everyone get back, it's an arsehole." Running Linux on his 13-year-old Mac, which no longer can run the latest OS X. A phenomenal array of computing power surrounds him. He is nervous. Long nights of coding and hacking to evade the cyber cops could be blown if he reveals too much, but the minds of a younger generation needed to know the knowledge he would now be broadcasting. I mean, that's What I'm trying to do is actually tell a story about science and maths. I mean, I love science and maths and statistics. I mean, I'm a very analytical individual, and I find these things, I find them entertaining. And I just described the room I'm sat in, and the phenomenal array of computing power is, well, it's all around me. I'm not going to do a scan around the room. I'll post some pictures in the blog that will accompany this post of my phenomenal array of computing power. So where are we up to? Roger's long-haired blog, and you can, you know, search it in the search box. And I'm going to work through these slides, and some sort of shape will emerge from this into an essay. Now, this is a post that I did in November 2016, and it is entitled Climate Change, AGW and All Points from Activism to Skepticism. And it's a very, all the links in it work. The ones that do usually reference the Wayback Machine, depending what you have installed in your own browser. There is a browser extension you can put in Chrome for the Wayback Machine. It's this one. I haven't got that part of my screen actually in the screen capture, but that opens, and it opens a PDF. It's completely free. It's a shareable link, and it's a collection of you know, different writing, some poems, and it goes through the basis of climatology and what we know about the climate system, really. And the reason I opened that today is there was a paper in 2009 which falsified the CO2 hypothesis, and we're going to get to that in a minute. And I've got a couple of other things that I want to show you which have some scientific notation in them. And the scientific notation, I've also got some introductory things in what those funny little squiggles and Greek letters actually mean, just so you can feel a bit more comfortable about the Latin liturgy that's being delivered by the so-called experts, which is too difficult, allegedly, for your understanding. It isn't difficult. Scientific notation and mathematical notation is no different from shorthand notation for taking dictation in offices that shorthand secretaries or journalists or whatever use. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of that, just so you can feel a bit more comfortable about some of the technical stuff which is going to be cropping up, and you can spend some time figuring it all out. This is one of the links that comes up from the booklet, and it's called Reconsidering Science, CO2 Figures, Cycle, Solubility, GHG, that's Global Green Effect, Oceanic Scale, Biosequestration. There are a bunch of concepts in here which won't be familiar to you, and if you don't know the names Jarovsky or Segelstadt, you know, don't despair. These things, you know, they are out there. They're just several degrees of separation away in your browser, and the Google algorithms try very hard for you not to get to them. But you know, I'm here to help, and the links will, well, the links are in that booklet, but they'll also be accompanying this. That's the same thing. Now I'm going to close the ones that are up twice. Right, the CERN cloud experiment, that's what that is. The CERN cloud experiment, there are two scientists, an Israeli scientist, Shaviv, and a Danish scientist by the name of Svensmark. And CERN is the thing that has that very curious opening ceremony for the tunnel and all that sort of thing. It's in Switzerland, and that's the Large Hadron Collider people. And that's, I mean, pretty mainstream stuff. What's this one now? Hollow Science, the Electric Universe, Global Warming and the Climate of Ignorance. Now, I referenced Walt Thurnhill in yesterday's video, and this is his essay on, well, the parlous state of postmodern science, I guess. And this is Tom Sagelstad's blog, and again, this is from a link in the booklet. Forbidden, that's always a good sign. There's an article about Tom on Wikipedia, which has had the Connolly touch, shall we say. Scientific skeptics, where they impinge in the global warming alarmist creed, if you like, do tend and have been, you know, abused basically, with ad hominem attacks and all the rest of it. And we'll come to DeSmog blog in a minute. What else have we got here? Oh, this is one that was in the Wayback Machine. Now, Gösta Peterson was at London University, he's retired now, and this is about the kinetics of atmospheric carbon dioxide, where he looks into the bomb curves. And of course, you know, you get along, and pretty soon you find these functions or equations, and what do they mean. We're going to come to that in a minute, and I'll explain to you when confronted with something like that, what that's actually saying. Falsealarm.net, that's another barred one. What have we got here? And you see, as we go through some of these documents, there are lots of